Welcome to Woke House. You know, in Christianity, a lot of, I think even Christians don't fully realize what the word gospel means. The gospel means good news. So Jesus came to bring good news. And his good news was that they were under a new covenant, that there was a new day dawning, and he was ushering in a new way of being in the world. So, what was Buddha's gospel? What was Buddha's message? And at first it sounds very pessimistic because Buddha's ultimate message was that life itself is suffering, or dukkha. You have sukha, which is happiness, and you have dukkha, which is unhappiness. You have nibbana, and you have samsara. So samsara and dukkha are forms of suffering, or ways of talking about the human existence. They're not even just a human existence, but plant life, animal life, any type of sentient being is gonna get old, get sick, and die. So you have those physical things, but the Buddha's message, or the Buddha's gospel, was this dukkha, or this suffering, this samsara, the majority of it exists right here. So he came to tell us that, you know, all these things that you tell yourself aren't true. As far as the single person says, if I just had someone to share my life with, then I would be happy. And then the married couple, right after an argument, they may say, you know, if I could live by myself in an apartment, away from this husband of mine, away from this wife of mine, away from these kids of mine, I could truly be happy. And the poor person says, if I had a couple more zeros behind that number in my bank account, then I could be happy. And then the rich person says, you know, I was born under all this pressure. I gained all this, I was given all this money, and I'm responsible for all these businesses, and I'm responsible for taking care of this wealth that goes back in my family to generations. If I was just a working class slob where I could put in my 8 hours and go to the pub and have me a pint, I would be so much less stressed, you know. So in every aspect of life, with this monkey mind, this samsaric mind, we're always creating these scenarios where it's not this present moment, it's somewhere else lies my happiness. Even, and there is no place like that. Even, somebody I know just came back from Disney World, right? And they were telling me about Disney World. Well, for some people, Disney World might be, you know, when they think of the happiest place on earth, at least they advertise it to be the happiest place on earth, right? Well, you know, the lines are really long. And, you know, the lines to get food and lines to get on the rides are pretty long. And there's a lot of waiting around not having fun. And then when you're at Disney World, there's somebody yelling that they want to talk to the manager because they're upset about something. There's days that it's cold. There's days that it's hot. When you're tired and wore out, you want to go back to your hotel. Once you go back to your hotel, and not too long later, you're bored and you want to go get something to eat, or you want to go back to Disney World. So there's samsara. Samsara follows you in your mind. So that was Buddha's gospel. Buddha's gospel is, yes. And Buddha, by saying that the world and our thinking life is samsaric, or dukkha, he wasn't being a negative Nelly. He was being a realist, you know. He's not an optimist, and he's not a pessimist. He's, once again, on the middle path, a realist. The majority of life is suffering. We have to try to survive on this planet. And there's a lot of things like sickness and disease and injuries and things that are going to happen to us. Loss of jobs, divorce, everybody that we know is going to die. We're going to die. All of that is suffering. But Buddha himself, he rose above that suffering. He rose above that samsaric mind, that monkey mind. He rose above the dukkha of his own personality, and he didn't become attached to those things. He took life as it came. He himself got old and got sick and died. He himself had many things that happened to him, but he was above the attachment to that. And so he didn't feel the samsaric or the karmic effects of it all. He continued to plant positive seeds and live a positive life and have a positive outlook so that he would be tranquil at all times, knowing that it is going to be suffering, but you don't have to double down on that suffering by using the mind, by focusing on the negativity of it all, by thinking that somewhere else there's something better than this. In fact, he saw that existence itself could be nibbana. It could be, nibbana is indescribable. You can't say it's bliss. You can't say it's happiness. You can't say anything about nibbana except for it is the opposite of dukkha. It is the opposite of samsara. So whatever that is, Buddha attained that. And that was his gospel. That, yes, it sounds bad at first, that all of life is suffering, but he wouldn't have said that unless he was going to come back with a follow-up statement. There's a way out of this suffering. And it all starts with looking at your own mind and finding out how much of this suffering you're causing yourself. So that is the gospel of Buddha.